and welcome to our review for Thor: The Dark World. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam.
And, oh man, this movie was great. This movie was fantastic. It lived up to my expectations from the trailers, unlike some other superhero that...
Really, just the entire summer blockbuster, I think.
It's very true. It's very true. So, if you don't know what Thor is, well, you should. It is...
Why are you watching a nerdy TV show if you don't know who Thor is?
Yeah. Thor is a superhero in the Marvel Universe. He already had a movie come out. Was it like a couple summers ago?
Maybe 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So this time, there's a lot of stuff going on. If you haven't seen the first one, you need to check that out. But, you know, we'll go ahead and go into some details. How about some characters and actors?
All right. Well, obviously, this first one you have to mention is Chris Hemsworth as Thor. He's really he's the perfect guy for that role.
He is. So perfect.
He does that role very well. I think some people might underestimate his acting with it because there are a lot of people who are like, oh, he's not great, but he does perfect for what the character is, which is an over-romanticized giant dude with a hammer who's extremely cocky. And that's
not
basically
as cocky
him.
as Iron Man. But no, well, he is pretty cocky, though. Just kidding.
Right. I mean, do you have any additional notes to add to that? I mean, we've seen him in 2 other movies previous, so...
I think
he's the same.
I would just agree that he does a really good job. And he's also, I mean, he might get typecasted in that kind of, like, manly role, but he does a very good job at being versatile because he did some other roles, like...
When you're, like, 6'3" and have a giant anvil jaw, you kind of get typecast in that anyway.
Yeah, but he did do a very good job in the movie Rush. But... aside that, we also have a character called Loki, who is played by Tom Hiddleston.
Now, Hiddleston is, in my opinion, quite clearly the strongest because he's a ridiculously good actor. Not just for this role, but in general. Like, even if you just like look up his random YouTube videos of doing impressions and different things like that, he's always really accurate. And he's somebody who knows multiple languages. He's a very intelligent person.
Yes.
And it comes off really... I mean, he was the perfect actor for Loki. There is nobody who could do it better. I think it's funny that he actually tried out to play Thor for the original one. But anyway, I do think that the best parts of the movie, not saying that the other parts were bad, but the best parts were when he and Hemsworth were on screen together. Yes. You got the brotherly back and forth, because they do it very well.
Oh, they do. They have such great chemistry working together.
They do. They've got to be up there with like some of the best like sibling on-screen for any movie, dramas, anything. I mean,
I agree.
They're really good, and I think... one of the best directing decisions, we'll go more into directing later, but with Alan Taylor is they said he wanted to go back into filming after they finished to make sure there was more Loki in the movie. And after watching it, I think that was maybe the best decision that could have been made for the movie because, I mean, he's amazing.
Oh yeah, I agree. Completely agree. He is pretty amazing. I mean, if Chris Hemsworth wasn't my guy. But a lot of girls, to Loki anyway, so. And Tom Hiddleston, I mean... so many fans from him being Loki.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to Natalie Portman. Do you have anything particular to say about her?
As far as the role, I mean, I have always been a Natalie Portman fan. I think she does a very good job working with her roles and using emotion in her face and stuff. Not like completely like, oh my gosh, she's like amazing, but she does a really good job at what she does.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen her in it. I don't think there's a whole lot to really say. We've seen it. She's fine. It's not a huge role, really. Mm-hmm. So it's fine. Now, moving on to the new addition, somebody we can finally talk about for the first time, Christopher Eccleston.
Yes.
One of the former doctors.
Yes.
What were your thoughts on him?
Oh my gosh. It's so great to see him in something, although...
kind of see him.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you don't really get to see his face. You get to see all the makeup on his face. But... not really spoilers, but there's not a lot to the character.
He's a very shallow character.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem to the movie.
The biggest downfall.
Hands down. Christopher Eccleston, I don't know why they went to all these weird decisions for his character, but he is Malekith, the king of the Dark Elves. Mm-hmm. And he is literally covered head to toe in makeup. If you didn't know that was Christopher Eccleston and what he looks like, you probably wouldn't even know that was him. on top of that, they use this awful voice modifier just to give him like an echoey sound. I don't know.
Yes.
It's horrible. It's distracting, and it takes away from his actual acting ability because he is a very good actor.
He is. He really is. I just wish there was more to him. Like,
right, in the entire movie, he probably gets like 2 paragraphs to read, and one of those is in a made up language. I mean, it's very disappointing, and I think that was it's just a huge problem. With roles like this, I really wish we could get more strong lead villains in the Marvel movies. You know, I always talk about some of the flaws with the DC. This is the huge one with the Marvel movies. They get really good actors, whether it's Hugo Weaving or whoever. I can't think of the others off the top of my head. But they get really good actors, but they really don't give them great villains. Tom Hiddleston's Loki aside, because they made him a sympathetic villain, and you can see why he does things. He doesn't see himself as really a villain. He sees himself as entitled.
Yes.
And you can see where he's coming from. And the others, they're just kind of like, here's the guy in front of the hero for them to fight for the movie so they can either depower or kill.
Like Red Skull, I mean...
Red Skull, Jeff Bridges is another character that they had brought in for the first Iron Man.
The Mandarin...
It's a big problem they're having, and they're bringing the actors in, but they need to have more focus on the writing. Hopefully the bigger ones like Ultron, who is being done by Joss Whedon, so I have a lot more faith in that one. And hopefully Thanos for the 3rd movie is done really well, because if either of those characters don't work, because it's not going to work, because you have to have a great villain for the Avengers movies.
Yes.
You can get away with it in the smaller side ones, but you can't for the Avengers, and they do need more strong villains. So I'm really hoping they tighten that up. This movie was no exception to that. Loki was great, but he wasn't the main villain, so...
Right. They did a really good job with the Loki Thor and him being like, you know, the interweaving character, but... Yeah.
Alright, so let's just rush through the rest of the side characters.
We have Stellan Skarsgård.
He's very revealing in this movie.
Yes, oh my gosh. Good thing they have bars.
Alright, what about Kat Dennings?
Kat Dennings does a good job at what she does, kind of.
She's alright, I guess. I don't know, I find her kind of annoying, but Jamie Alexander, the woman who was that close to playing Wonder Woman.
Sif. I love her.
Me too.
She would make, you know, in my personal opinion, she would make a really good Wonder Woman. She has the look.
She looks like she can beat people up.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I love how they decided to incorporate the Thor's fragrance.
Sif and the Warriors 3.
Yes, thank you.
Let me just say that first off, Thor needs to be with Sif because she's way better. And second, with the Warriors 3, I really wish Sif and the Warriors 3 would get a miniseries to themselves.
Oh, I do too.
Because they have really good actors. Zachary Levi, Ray Stevenson, and obviously Jamie Alexander, and that Japanese guy that was barely in the movie.
I know.
That's a whole smaller issue that I wish he would have been in. But anyway, just moving past that, they're really good for the small roles that they're all given. They all have their own little moments where they make you laugh, and you can see that they're tough, and I wish they could have a miniseries, whether it's with Netflix like Daredevil's going to be,
I know,
or if it's going to be on ABC. I don't care, just give them a miniseries. Like, give them something for them. I mean, you get actors that are really good, really, really good for supporting actors. People who have led movies or been a main character in those, you know, and then they just have like really small roles. I would like to see a lot more with them.
I would too, and I hope to see more of them in, you know, upcoming movies.
All right, so is that it for the actors?
I think that's it for the actors. So we should probably move on to the writing and directing of this movie. Now, in my personal opinion, I love the directing. I love some of the shots, especially when you're coming to Asgard and they go and they do a shot like you're going through on the Rainbow Road. I love that shot. I think the writing is incredibly good beside the faulty Malekith writing.
That's not faulty, that's just lazy. Like, they didn't even try. They're like, alright guys, we need like 80% of the focus on Thor's lines when he's trying to be romantic because that's our audience, and then let's just throw the villain to the wayside.
But, like, other than that, I think that the writing was really done very well. The directing, amazing. I love the movie. I love it.
Right. This is maybe not his first movie, but his first big movie. The director's name is Alan Taylor. He did a lot of the big episodes in season 1 of Game of Thrones. He's also done a lot of other TV shows here and there. But he is a big-time TV show director, making his big move, and he did a fantastic job for the most part, whether it's the Star Wars-esque fight scenes in the sky or whatever. The action in this movie was absolutely fantastic. If there's one real complaint outside of the villain thing and the not enough of Hogun, was my first time through it didn't bother me. But when I watched the movie for the second time, the romance lingers on a little bit longer than it should. It takes up too much of the movie, and there were times where I was just kind of sitting there like, all right, let's get back to the action. I'm not even an action junkie, but I was like, all right, let's move on. This is getting really tedious. Like I said, first time I saw it, nothing, but second time I was like, let's get going.
Maybe I would have a different if I'd seen it twice, but I'm also a lady, and some ladies love the romance, especially with Chris Hemsworth in it.
Right. Well, anyway, so that's it for the directing for my end. And last off, we're going to talk about is the post-credit stuff, because they're a huge part of the Marvel movies. What were your thoughts on... Well, we'll talk about the important one, not as important one. You'll know if you've seen them.
Yes. The important one... spoilers or something like that.
Yeah, incoming spoilers.
Spoilers! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
For the rest of the episode.
Yes. Alright, so, at the end, you see Sif, and you also see, the other two. Can't remember their names. The big burly guy.
Ray Stevenson and Jamie Alexander.
Thank you, yes. You see them both, and they are going to the Collector. Now, we're not talking about Mass Effect people. We're talking about the Collector in the Marvel Universe. He collects a lot of different artifacts that, you know... Obviously, if you're a collector, you'd want them. And they don't want to have the Cosmic Cube or the Tesseract, thank you, and the Ether together, because that would be a bad thing. Because what if someone broke in and they stole them both? You'd be screwed. So, we see this, and he has a lot of different things going on. He's got, like, people and, like, cages and different artifacts, and it's really weird, and he looks really weird, but really cool at the same time. And it is a scene for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. Now, who the Collector is, first off, I think actually watching that little scene actually has me excited, because he might be a decent villain.
Yeah.
But the Collector in and of himself isn't evil or good. He's one of the oldest sentient beings in the Marvel Universe. He's the last of his species. He has the power of foresight, and he can see the end of the world, and that's why he loves to collect everything from the different cultures, so that he has everything, basically, for the end of the world. He wants something, including, on rare occasion, different superheroes, namely Thor or Wasp or different characters like that he wants to capture. Weird. He's, yes, a very weird guy, but... Like I said, he's not actually a villain.
He's neutral.
Even though they kind of portray him that, but I think it's just his collector in him. That's my thought. But anyway, the way they kind of changed Marvel a little bit, at least Marvel lore. We know that they're building up to the Infinity War, and that would need all of the gems for the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, they change it to the Infinity Stones, and they say that the Tesseract and the Ether are both stones involving in it. So they do change the Marvel Universe some there, but I'm fine with it, just because they only have so many movies to do.
Right.
And we got to get there for the third movie, so we've got plenty of others to go.
Along.
But anyway, that's really that. They just kind of introduce his character, and I guess kind of give us a glimpse of what Guardians will be like with... I'm going to assume like them trying to gather the stones, and then a glimpse into maybe what we're expecting, like a preview for the third Avengers movie.
I can't wait. I am so excited for Guardians of the Galaxy. Actually, you know, we've been kind of reading up on stuff, and I'm just so excited. I'm so pumped. So pumped.
Right. But for the next Marvel movie with Captain America, I'm just going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say the post-credit scene for that one is going to be a setup for Avengers 2, not Avengers 3. They're using the space one to kind of open that door, and then this one's going to be like something involving Ultron and waking him up or building him or whatever ends up happening. We don't know yet. So that would be my thought on that.
Yes, and then sometime we'll get to see what Ant-Man looks like.
Well, we already know what his suit looks like.
Yeah. But someday. We'll know.
That's post-Avengers too.
I know. But someday.
Anyway, thank you for watching.
Yes.
That was our show.
That was our review, yeah.
That was our review. See ya.
See you guys later, and go see Thor, The Dark World.
It's one of the best nerd movies of the year.
It is.
Bye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our review for Thor, The Dark World. I almost said Into Darkness.
Welcome back to Star Trek Into the Dark World.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.